Hello YouTubers and friends from all around the world. In today's video we are going to talk about the Narcissistic Personality Disorder, which is a psychiatric disorder that really affects hundreds of millions among us around the world. We may suffer ourselves, or we may have people that suffer from this psychiatric disorder in our surroundings. So let's see first the definition of a personality disorder according to psychiatry. A personality disorder is actually a type of mental health illness. It's a type of psychiatric condition in which the person has some very specific, rigid and chronic patterns which are dysfunctional in terms of understanding what is happening in his everyday life, in terms of social relationships, professional relationships, interpersonal relationships. So there is a very problematic and dysfunctional way of perceiving what other people say, how other people function, what other people do to them, and as a result they react in a very dysfunctional way, and they may have very intense problematic emotions because of these falsely created and unhealthy patterns of thinking, functioning and behaving. So we're talking about dysfunctional long-term patterns which cause significant problems in their everyday lives, very important limitations at work, constant fights, very important problems in terms of social activities, in terms of relationships. People have fear of being abandoned all the time, etc. So personality disorders are grouped into 3 clusters, and in each cluster there are actually similar characteristics and symptoms. So it is important to say that many people who suffer from a personality disorder may actually suffer from another personality disorder as well. So there are many people who suffer from mixed type personality disorders. The Narcissistic Personality Disorder belongs to the cluster B. So in this cluster of personality disorders, we have personality disorders that are characterized by very dramatic, emotional, or unpredictable ways of expressing emotion and of thinking and behaving. In this same category, we may find antisocial personality disorder and borderline and histrionic personality disorder as well. So these 4 types of disorders have the common characteristic of very dramatic, overly emotional or unpredictable behaviors, emotional explosions, and ways of thinking. According to many studies, narcissistic personality disorder is relatively rare, so it's like between 0.5 and 1% of the general population, and approximately half to 3/4 of the people who suffer from this personality disorder are men. So true narcissists, in a very general way, can be described as people who present a very pervasive pattern of grandiosity in their everyday lives, which means grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, a constant need for admiration, and really a lack of being empathetic towards other people, a lack of empathy. This means that these people are incapable to really put themselves into the position of another person and to feel, or to at least to understand how another person may be feeling at that moment. This very pervasive pattern of thinking, of interpreting other people's emotions and behaviors, of acting in everyday life, which is dysfunctional, which is, as I said before, the definition of a personality disorder, begins in early adulthood. And in order to really speak of a true personality disorder of the narcissistic type, we really need to have the next 9 criteria. Actually, we need to have at least 5 of the following 9 criteria. The first criterion is an inflated sense of self-importance. These people really believe that they are more important, superior to other people. The second characteristic of a narcissistic personality disorder is a constant preoccupation with fantasies of power, of beauty, of brilliance, of success, or ideal love. These people cannot be satisfied with simple, average, everyday life achievements and successes. They need always something very unique, very special, very extremely successful, powerful, ideal in order to feel satisfied. And even in that case, this satisfaction isn't but temporary. The third element of a narcissistic personality disorder is that belief that the person is special and can only be understood by other equally special or high-status people. So there is a constant feeling of being misunderstood because of this belief that the person is way too special to be understood by average everyday people. They may also have a constant sense of entitlement, feeling like the world owes them. As we've already mentioned, they lack empathy, which means that it's very hard for these people to put themselves into the situation, the condition of another person, and to understand even cognitively what the other person may be feeling or what the other person may be suffering from in his everyday life. These people very often have antisocial traits of personality, like, as an example, the attitude to take advantage of other people and to show a lack of respect for other people's needs. Narcissistic personalities very often show a very arrogant and egotistical self towards other people. They may give the impression of being someone who is very haughty and who cannot be easily approached by other people. So, as I said before, in order to really speak of a narcissistic personality disorder, the person needs to present at least 5 of these 9 criteria for a very long period in his life, actually since his very early adulthood or from his late teens, and these elements must be the cause of a very significant distress in terms of social, interpersonal and professional relationships, and a lot of distress either to himself or to other people around him. Another key characteristic of narcissistic personalities is the envy that they feel very often for other people or groups of people, and they also believe that other people are envious of them. According to many specialists, narcissistic personalities actually have a very poor sense of self-worth and self-confidence, and this is why this whole egotistical style is being put forth in order to deal with this underlying sense of lack of personal efficacy and self-worth. In other terms, these people have a very fragile and vulnerable sense of self, and for this reason their egos are very easily hurt by what other people say, by other people's critiques and points of view. So there is a hypersensibility to critique, and they always need to preserve and to protect this fragile sense of ego and self that they have. Narcissistic personalities tend to do pretty well in highly demanding workplaces, and this is the reason why very often the people who ascend in the professional hierarchy have very strong personality traits of this type, narcissistic personality traits, characteristics, and in some cases antisocial personality characteristics, like a tendency to manipulate other people, a tendency to lie, a tendency to compete in counterproductive ways at work. It is true that narcissists like hierarchical organizations because they think that in this way they will rise to high ranks and reap status and power. According to some researchers, because of all this egocentrism and willingness to exploit other people, there is a very, very strong association between narcissism and sexual harassment in the workplace. People who suffer from this psychiatric condition very often have other co-occurring disorders like mood disorders, especially depression and bipolar disorder, and in some cases they may be very prone to substance use disorders, especially for stimulant substances that increase productivity like cocaine and amphetamines. And these people may also have other personality disorders like histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial disorder. It is finally important to mention that not all people who present narcissistic personality characteristics are dysfunctional, and there are many people who put these narcissistic elements into good use, like, for example, the need to be recognized, the need to succeed. But there are some people who really become dysfunctional and potentially very dangerous for their everyday surroundings, at work or in their personal life, because of their disorder. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked the content of this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. So see you soon.